the cost of being a bodybuilder?
Jello Beats, holla at me.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel and another video. So in today's video, I'm going to be answering a question that I got on my Instagram DM. So if you ever want like a topic covered, of course, either add a comment to the YouTube video itself or shoot me a DM, slide into the DMs on Instagram, and I'll be sure to consider it. And I think this was a really good question, so obviously I'm going to cover it today. Now, it is the cost of being a bodybuilder. Now, I think that there is a lot of false conception or false ideas about the cost of being a bodybuilder, or at least a drug-free natural bodybuilder. And a lot of people think that it's far more expensive than it actually is. And that's something I really don't think the cost should be a limiting factor in terms of you getting into the sport. I cover food, supplementation, and then obviously the cost of entering the shows themselves. So first up, food. A lot of the time people think that you need to spend hundreds and hundreds of pounds on food, and like get piles of chicken breast and piles of beef and salmon and all these high quality meat products. And whilst that's kind of true, like you do, obviously, you do need to buy your protein sources, I think that there are some budget way around things, and you can certainly make things cost effective. I mean, let's just think about things, guys. Like, the people watching this video, or at least the people getting into bodybuilding, you're going to start off relatively small and relatively under-muscled. You are not Phil Heath. You do not need to go and buy Phil Heath levels of protein intake. You do not need to eat 300, 400 grams of protein a day. To be honest, if you're watching this, the likelihood of you ever consuming that amount of protein or having a rationale to consume that amount of protein is just kind of off limits. We know that sort of around about that 1 to 1.5 grams per pound of lean body per pound of body weight is going to be where or whereabouts we will situate protein. And for most people, that could be anywhere from 140 grams to upwards of 250, 260 max in reality. And that's really not that hard to hit, especially if you're having things like tuna, you know, the cheaper chicken breast, or you know, you're buying a bulk item of whey protein, which are actually, like, when there's offers on, they're fairly cheap. Like, you can get like whey protein and that fairly cheaply. And when you're gaining, guys, what you'll actually find when you're in a muscle gain phase is you'll probably end up spending a little less on food than you will when you're dieting. Because when you're dieting, man, the amount of egg whites or veg that you go through, that actually adds up a little bit more, in my opinion, or at least in my experience. Because when you're gaining, like, your primary, like for me at least, your primary source of calories is going to come from carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are so cheap, so cheap. So to give you an idea as to how much I spend on food in an average week. Back when I was 16, 17, starting out, I had a job in Sainsbury's. And I can remember using my Sainsbury's discount card, buying my food every week. I was actually probably more structured with the way that I purchased my food back when I was like 15, 16. I've been buying my own food and cooking my own meals since I was 15 years old. So for sure, I know the cost as a newbie. I didn't get bought anything apart from the occasional frozen chicken breast from my mum. So I'd spend maybe £30 a week on food back then, and I probably spend about £40 a week on food right now. So £40 a week, you know, that's not that much. If you have a part-time job, that's easily affordable. So food-wise, the conception is that if you're tracking macros, you'll realize that you don't need to consume crazy amounts of protein. And to be honest, when you weigh out the amount of protein needed to hit your goal, you'll probably be surprised. You'll probably be like, okay, before, when I was intuitive eating and having 2 chicken breasts with each meal, I probably didn't need to eat that much. And that's probably why my stomach hurt like shit. Yeah, because mine did. Really hurt. I was on the toilet for days with the amount of mass gainer and protein I was eating. Not good. Not fun. So yeah, that's food covered. So moving on to obviously, actually yeah, the cost of a gym membership. Gym memberships can be really cheap nowadays. Unfortunately, the really cheap ones will probably sign you up for a shite Pure Gym or The Gym or something like that. And whilst I do cardio there, I think they're great gyms, and they're actually very well equipped. So if you train at one of those gyms, no hate to you whatsoever. But for me, that environment to train with weights, I couldn't train in it. So I actually train at a very cool gym called Underground Gym in Brighton, and I believe I pay about £30 a month for that. I think I get a little bit of a discount because I'm an athlete and they support that, which is incredible. Not many gyms do that. So that's about £30 a month. Realistically, you'll look, if you're in London and things like that, you might pay more. You might end up paying close to £50, £60 a month. But yeah, so that's another sort of £50, £60 a month. So we're looking at now maybe close to £100 a week. All right, so we're getting things up. Okay. So now we move on to supplementation, and this is where a lot of people spunk the cash. They really throw it out the window, and that's rubbish, to be honest, because you don't really need to. If you're starting out, my primary advice is that you buy a decent quality whey protein, probably something from MyProtein bulk powders, or CMP just did a really good offer actually that I picked up. So check that. I think that the offers might end today, but I think it's like 40% off their website. I should be sponsored by them, to be honest. But pick up a whey protein to hit your protein goals, a multivitamin, and that's pretty much it. Maybe an omega-3 as well from like MyProtein or something like that. But that's realistically all that you need. Oh, I must apologise. Creatine as well. Creatine, and that stuff is cheap. So cheap. It's hella cheap. So don't go ahead and waste your money on pre-workout this, vitamin C powder this, natural testosterone booster this, all this rubbish that quite honestly you just don't need at this stage. You probably don't need it later, to be honest, either. I've stuck very basic with my supplementation throughout. The only thing that I've added additionally into this sort of like contest prep phase is HMB, and I preferentially take glutamine for immune system health and gut functioning. But other than that, I realistically don't add anything. So yeah, guys, just go with the basics when it comes to supplementation. Don't be brought in and weighed in by the supplementation ads, schemes, etc. that are going to promise you all the gains in the world. You know, work hard in the gym. You'll be better off spending money on a fucking logbook and someone to teach you how to squat and deadlift and bench press and move well than spending your money on supplementation. Okay. Like, that's my honest advice. Like, you genuinely better be better off and make more progress by doing that than buying a load of crap supplements. Okay, so that's supplementation wise, and I really do think that you can probably keep your supplementation to, let's say, £50 a month. I think that's a good ballpark figure to start off with. So if we're looking at £50 a month, that adds an additional sort of 12-ish pounds, whatever. My maths is crap. 12-ish pounds, 12-ish 50 per week, okay? Yeah, that's about right. No, that's not right at all. No, I think that's about right. That's cool. Yeah, so about £12 a week. So that's an additional £12 a week. So we're looking at over £100 now per week. Interesting. Then we have another thing which people spunk too much cash on, and that's clothing. This is probably the only bit of clothing I've bought in the last year and a half, because you're very used to me just being in my Maybar Morris hoodie and that's it. So I don't buy very much clothing, but I do see it a lot, you know, and I appreciate that. And I think that people, you know, buying a Gymshark haul is absolutely fine. But if you then complain that you can't afford your food or that you can't afford your gym membership, then you're an idiot, because that's stupid. You know, buy the essentials first, buy your food, buy enough food to grow, buy your essentials like for just to get by, and then you can start buying the latest Gymshark, no I don't know, Zonex Fit trackies. You can then do that, but first, please invest heavily in just in literally the basic things that you do need, and then from there. Then when you start, having a better job, etc., and you really like their stuff, and you probably get sponsored, and you release a six-pack shredding guide, and all of that jazz. Of course, you can then have the haul, but for now you don't really need that at all. Finally, so now you're a bodybuilder and you've made some progress, like you've made some gains, and you've got your supplementation in line, you've got your gym membership, and you actually now want to compete. You want to get on stage. So what is the cost of that? And I think this is very, very different for females to males. I've heard some right horror stories of how much females have to pay for things. I'm talking bikini, tan, hair, makeup, like everything. Matt, I've heard like thousands for just one show. That is absurd comparative to males. Okay, so let me tell you what I've spent in. I'll be upfront and honest in everything I've spent. Okay, so I bought my posing trunks for my show from Iron Monkey. I believe I spent about £25 on those. £25 for trunks, okay? And then obviously the first thing I really did was enter my shows. So I'm going to run through the 3 main natural federations in the UK with their entry fee for the actual show and the subscription fee for being a member, because you have to be a member before you enter a show. So with the BNBF, you pay a £35 entry fee for the membership. Sorry, you pay a £35 membership fee to join the BNBF, and then you pay a £10 entry fee per show. So if you do a show, it's £10. Boom, £45. So we cross over, and I think that's very reasonable considering the day itself, what you get, how you're treated. I think that's amazing. So really good. And then you move over to the MPA, and funnily enough, it's a very similar setup. You have a £40 membership fee, and you have a £5 show entry fee. £45. And then obviously you've got to factor in getting to the venue, etc. But if you pick a local one, you can probably just drive, and then you just have the fuel cost. So in reality, it's not too expensive. And then you've got the UK DFBA, which I'm not 100% sure on the split between membership and entry fee, but I know that I paid for 2 classes, I paid £69. Okay, so I imagine that's very similar. I imagine it's around about £45, £50 for just one class if you were doing one. But I'm going to enter 2. So that's basically the cost of entering a bodybuilding show. So it's not really that expensive for guys. For females, it can be much more expensive. And then obviously you've got tan and glaze. Tan cost me £15. Glaze cost me £15, I believe, on those numbers. And that was from Dark As that I buy my tan, Dark As and Polished As for the glaze. And then that is pretty much the cost of the process for a male. It really is. And then obviously, with me, because I'm competing in Birmingham, and that's a decent, 3 hours away from me, so I am staying in a hotel. Hotel cost me about £80. I'm staying for one night the night before. I'm actually splitting it with a friend, so to be fair, it's like 40 quid each. So yeah, it's not that much of an expensive weekend. And I don't have to spend any more money on specific foods or specific things for the bodybuilding show itself. It's just very normal for me. So I think the realistic thing is I'm spending a crap load of money on coffee, black coffee. Yeah, that's the main expense. So yeah, guys, I hope that this roundup has been good and that shows you a bit of an insight. But in reality, the cost of being a bodybuilder as a male is very, very different to being a female. So I'd love if anyone watches this, if any female watches this and is like a vlogger or is comfortable on camera, if you'd feel like you wanted to like contribute and make a video that can go on my channel with the cost of being a female, and I'll edit it up and I'll put it up. If anyone wants to raise their hand and say, yeah, I'll do that, then I'll welcome it, and that would be amazing. And I know my channel's only small, but I could give you a little bit of limelight in the socials, and I'd thoroughly appreciate having a female perspective on things. If that doesn't happen, then maybe I'll just grab a female and get them in the video strong. So yeah, guys, that is pretty much it for today's video. Any questions that I potentially haven't missed out, like any other things that I potentially spend money on that you think that I've missed out, let me know, and I will see you guys in the next video. Hope this has been helpful. Cheers guys, see you in a bit.